Volume 4's conclusion of Overlord. What a blast. What a blast. So before I talk about Volume 4's conclusion, different things about Overlord, I'm going to say anime onlys right now that do not want to be spoiled about upcoming events, but I highly doubt some of these events will be shown in the anime unless we have a 24 episode series. But still, this is spoiler territory and I don't want to spoil anime onlys, so I'll give you guys 3 seconds to clear out if you don't want to be spoiled. So 3, 2, 1, stato. Okay, so now spoilers are going to be coming onto the table and let's start. So Volume 4 of Overlord's light novel. Ainz be a badass. Like, oh my god, dude. He makes a fucking staircase of skeletons. He makes a fucking staircase of skeletons. And he gets on fucking top of it, sits in a fucking throne. If that doesn't say, like, that person's a badass, I don't know what the fuck does. Like, seriously. And his excuse for stacking up all these strong-ass skeletons that made the Lizardmen shit themselves, he said he didn't want to get dirty. G, dude. Oh my god. Whew. Volume 4 of Overlord takes a different perspective of the Overlord light novel series. This time around, Volume 4 follows the antics of Lizardmen. Very different from previous 3 volumes I have experienced of Overlord, because the first 3 volumes, mainly first volume focused on Ainz and his perspective. Second volume is kind of the exact same way, but from a hero's perspective of being an adventurer. Third volume is also from different perspectives of Sheltier and Ainz going back and forth. So, kind of, we got a little bit of an experience with it in Volume 3. But Volume 4 was an entirely different experience because majority of Volume 4 followed the Lizardmen. And I kind of like the way the writer of this series kind of experimented with this, because this allows us to see, do we need Ainz always on screen or on the page to be able to really enjoy Overlord? That was probably a question that the writer was wondering when he or she wrote this novel, this volume of the light novel series. And I feel like the experimentation actually worked. It allowed me to really have conflicted views on this volume of Overlord, because when it came to the Lizardmen, they were extremely underpowered compared to the Overlord of Death, Ainz. I mean, go figure. Ainz is like level fucking 100. Nobody's really gonna stand in his way when you have like level 20 or 30 Lizardmen that can't do jack shit. So, in a nutshell, I knew the Lizardmen didn't stand a chance, but majority of Volume 4 was trying to let us grow closer to the Lizardmen, understand their characteristics and their personalities to the different tribes, how they live. That's kind of what the entirety of Volume 4 was about. And we get introduced to a couple of new characters that are our main character of Volume 4, for instance, our different Lizardmen. And throughout the entire volume, I really thought that shit's gonna go south really quick, because, I mean, Ainz is gonna be coming to the village. He announced at the end of Volume 3, he's gonna be going to this Lizardman village to kill them off, and then making an army, amassing an army of skeleton Lizardmen, because supposedly higher grade creatures can make stronger skeletons or undead, which makes a lot of sense in any type of RPG or any game. So it makes a lot of sense how killing higher grade skeletons or higher grade creatures would, you know, give him more benefits. And that's kind of what he was doing. He was going down, hunting down these Lizardmen villages and going to kill them. But there was something hidden behind the scenes when it came to this volume that makes me compliment Ainz quite a bit. The entire volume, Volume 4, was an experiment for Ainz to really see if his NPCs, the people that work in Nazarick, can evolve, can learn. And that's what the entirety of Volume 4 was kind of about. Just to see if some of the NPCs, like let's say Albedo or Cocytus, I think that's how you say his name, could like evolve. And I really like that. I really like how Ainz was doing that, because he set up Cocytus to fail in this volume, because he gave Cocytus like this giant-ass skeleton army. But they were weak zombies and weak skeletons, and they didn't really have high intelligence. And the only intelligent being in this army was a lich that Ainz made. And what he really set up here was an active failure, having it to where one of his highest ranking NPCs of the Tomb of Nazarick can't really go out into the battlefield to fight. For instance, Ainz didn't want Cocytus to go into the battlefield to fight. He wanted him to command his army and go in there and take the village. That's what he set up. But in the act of this, one of the strongest NPCs of Nazarick couldn't even beat a Lizardmen village that was severely weakened and underpowered compared to Nazarick's forces. And because of this, it was actually a way for Ainz to see if his NPCs can learn from their mistakes and failures and get better. And this, in turn, actually brings up a new question in Ainz's mind. If these NPCs can actually learn, which they did, Cocytus did learn from his mistakes, if he can learn, that means there is a possibility that there might become a time to where the NPCs of Nazarick might view Ainz as not a proper leader. For instance, he's not worthy enough to hold the mantle of the guild name, because he fears that some of them might eventually evolve to that extent. And it really raises a couple of questions, because now Ainz has this pressure to where he has to realize he needs to keep up this appearance, and his men will eventually, depending on the situation, can lose faith in him, and maybe not even love him at all, and probably think he's not worthy to lead them. That's pretty cool. I like that, how this volume kind of set that entire formula up. But back on to the Lizardmen. So the Lizardmen, we got attached to him, and like I said earlier on, I was very conflicted with my viewpoint on this volume, because I like Ainz, I like his forces, I like Nazarick. They're really badass. They have really good, distinctive personalities that really stand out, especially like in the last volume with, volume 3. But with this volume, getting to see the Lizardmen from a weaker perspective, like, seeing these people are not as strong as others, it really changes the dynamic of the series and allows you to see how the weak look at the strong. For instance, how the weak look at, Ainz when he finally reveals his power. And at the end of the day, the Lizardmen got fucking wrecked. They just got slaughtered. They were crushed down. I mean, getting to see Ainz demonstrate his abilities of freezing an entire lake, and he just like, I did this, I didn't want to get dirty, and he stacked the fucking skeletons up because he didn't want to get dirty, and he acted like a king. Just some really scary shit. And I mean, if anyone saw that type of shit, like you saw an entire army with magical enchanted equipment, and you have never heard of stuff like this in the entire world, like, magical enchanted equipment through an entire army is like stuff of legend in this world. And if you see an army with this type of stuff, anybody, in the kingdom, the empire, the theocracy, whatever, if anyone sees an army like that, they're probably going to shit themselves and then run away, or they're just going to be terrified in fear and just die from a heart attack. One or the other is going to happen, because if you see an entire army like that in this world, that's stuff of legends and gods. And so Ainz was pretty much in a situation where he is being viewed as a god. And at the end of the volume, the entire Lizardman village think of Ainz as the Overlord of Death, a god. Like, they think he is a fucking god. Which, that right there reminds me a lot of fucking World of Warcraft. It does. Like, certain characters in World of Warcraft where, a character gets so strong, people view him as a god. And I'm like, oh my fucking god. When I saw that, I'm like, Ainz is being worshipped kind of by these Lizardmen. I mean, it wasn't really specifically said he was being worshipped, but they were viewing him as a god. That's kind of how they were doing it. And so, this changes more things about Ainz when I have to process more about his character now. He's not just an overpowered skeleton undead that controls this army that could wipe out the entire world almost from what we know of. He now was viewed by some as a god. And his character perspective of how he looks at others and what he would do for Nazarick really makes me love his character. I've said it a few times in the anime reviews and in my last discussion with Ainz equal to Lich King. Him being viewed as a character, like me viewing him, he is good and evil. But in some ways, he's so fucking evil because he would go to any extreme to probably protect Nazarick. Like, he doesn't give a shit. Like, he would probably kill off the entire country if it meant saving maybe one of his NPCs in Nazarick. Which, I respect the man. He cares about his family and friends and, the creations of his fellow friends to that extent. But it just goes to show you how far he would go and how fucked up the series can get later on, depending on where the writer takes it. And I have heard some things from light novel readers that there is some shocking revelations that Ainz does later on down in future volumes. I'm currently on volume 5, and I haven't really read far into it. I'm like on chapter 1 or 2, but I plan on reading more later today. But Ainz, with his power and how he can dominate different villages and turn it to where they look at him as like gods, it's a move that I didn't think Ainz would make. Like, I mean, when it comes to stuff like this, like, a series that focuses on maybe a game world but turned into reality, like let's say SAO or Log Horizon or now Overlord, I'm not used to something like this, because I'm used to a character either A, being a goody-goody two-shoes, like, for instance, being like a shonen character and trying to save the day all the time and willing to kill himself to save everybody else around him that he just met, or I'm used to a character like Log Horizon that has this economics type shit going on where they're trying to figure out what's going on, but they're still a goody-goody two-shoes where they'll try to help out anyone that comes around them. And so, to see Ainz, he's kind of similar to that, but different to where he does funds, like he does economics and shit, but he goes to the extent of researching and doing evil shit just to get what he wants. Fucking great. Now, what do y'all want to say? We come to find out how Ainz's forces of Nazarick are going to be making scrolls. So professions are in this world, and what's cool about it is, we come to find out, or slight hints, that these scrolls, these low-level scrolls that are being made from sheep. And I'm assuming the way it was done in this volume very subtly, well, it wasn't really subtle, because, I mean, I could tell by the dialogue, but it wasn't said what it was. But I'm going to assume from the dialogue that the scrolls in Volume 4 that are being made, I think that those scrolls are being made from human skin. I swear to you right now, I think that's what's going on. I feel like humans are being used as a resource to make low-level scrolls. Because the way I forget his name, Demugus, I can't say his name, it starts with a D, D-E, I cannot pronounce his name, forgive me for that, but you know who I'm talking about. He talks about how, like, he will go off and abduct any type of age group, women, children, adults, like men, anything. He'll abduct all ages to figure out what is the best to get resources from, which leads me to believe that it is humans, or some form of living humanoid creature, maybe lizardmen, or maybe, let's say, some form of birdmen, so forth. You get my point. So it makes me believe that they're using humans as resources to get scrolls. That's fucked up. That is really fucked up. But, I mean, Ainz doesn't really know of this either in some way, so I wonder how Ainz will react if he finds out humans are being used as a resource, or any type of humanoid creature is being used as a resource to be able to make his scrolls. I mean, that's kind of fucked up. I mean, imagine holding a scroll made of human skin. Ooh, dude. Ooh. So, yeah, if you can understand, this volume had a really good conclusion. It was really great. It got the point across showing a different perspective from what we're used to, for instance, from the Lizardmen. And some might call this volume a boring, or just they want more of Ainz. And I can understand that viewpoint. I mean, when we're given a character like Ainz that's just so damn good, you don't really want to venture off from that character because he's just so amazing. And I understand that, but I feel like this volume was a good volume to test out if it is possible for the light novel writer to kind of give other characters the spotlight. Maybe give Albedo the spotlight of an entire volume. You get my point. I feel like that's what the entire purpose of this volume was, alongside setting up Ainz building up armies that are not just undead, but also people viewing him as a god. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. How do you all feel about this volume review of Overlord? I think this is one of the first light novel reviews I've ever done. I think it is. So yeah, this is a start to many great things in the future. I want to continue reading Volume 5 to see how it is, and hopefully Volume 6 is translated, because I do want to read Volume 6. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.